Hi everyone, in this CLO video I'm going to show you a second method of how to hang a garment on a bottom hanger. So in the first video I showed you my favorite method, which is using the pin tool, but in this technique I'm going to show you one that's a little bit different. I still like it and I use it sometimes, but I just wanted to give you some options so that you can decide what option or method is your favorite, because there's not one right way or one wrong way to hang a garment on a bottom hanger. So I'll link to the first video here to show you that other method using the pin tool. But now we'll get started. So the first thing that I need to do is to open my library, which I can do by clicking Y on my keyboard or opening my library up here. And I need to go into the hanger folder. And I'm going to double click on the adult pant hanger to add it to my workspace and click OK. That will replace my current avatar. And so for this method right here, what I'm going to do while my garment is still in 3D mode, looks like it's still around my avatar because I haven't turned on simulation mode yet since removing the avatar, is I'm going to click Command A to select the whole garment. And then I'm going to rotate to the side to exactly the side view of my garment, holding down Shift while I rotate. And then using the gizmo tool to hold down Shift to rotate my garment flat above the ground, and I'm just going to lower it as close as I can to the floor. So I'm going to keep adjusting my screen view so that I can get as close to the ground as possible without intersecting that bottom grid, because if I do intersect, that's going to cause some simulation problems. So just getting it as close as I can, doesn't have to be perfect. And then once I get it there, I'm going to click 5 on my keyboard to jump to the overhead view, and I'm going to turn on simulation. So I'll click spacebar, and now my garment is laying flat on the ground. So I can kind of adjust and style it right here however I want it to lay a little bit, but we are going to switch into high resolution mode while it's still on the ground, so you don't need to do too much right here. But I'm going to go ahead and do that. So I'm going to click on high res mode, which you can learn more about in my high resolution video that I talk about what that really means and customize settings for that. But I'm going to click OK. And then once that loads, I will turn on simulation mode. And while that's loading, a little bit about this method is it's not going to give us much control over moving the garment once we have it in the hanging position like our other method that we used. But it's just something different that you could try out. So while it's simulating, I'm going to give it a minute to kind of lay flat. I can use the hand tool to kind of arrange it and add some wrinkles if I wanted it to. But once I get it kind of laying flat or how I want it, I'm just going to turn on or turn off simulation mode by clicking the space bar. And once it's pretty flat, I'm going to show you some other things that you can do but aren't necessary. So once you've got your skirt or garment laying flat, a couple of things that we can do to style it how we want are, the first one is we can add strengthening to our waistband. Sometimes you might want like more structure there. So I'm going to right click on it. I'm going to choose strengthen. That's going to turn it orange, but that is not going to show up when we render. It's just in our 3D window to let us know that we have strengthen applied to it. And then I'm going to turn on simulation mode so we can see those changes. And you can see as it simulates, that waistband gets a little bit smoother. It's loading pretty slow because we're in high res mode right now. But you can see some of the wrinkles that were there are gone now as that slowly simulates. So I'm going to turn off simulation mode, and I'm going to right click and unstrengthen that just to get rid of that. If you were really happy with the way a piece was looking, we could also right click on it and we could choose freeze. That way, if we did turn on simulation mode again, that piece would not move. So if I turn on simulation mode and use my hand tool to arrange the skirt a little bit more, this frozen piece would not move at all. And again, that blue color does not show up when we render. So I'm gonna unfreeze that. And then also one of the troubleshooting ideas that you can do if you are having problems with your layers of your skirt, because when we do have these two layers of fabric really close together, like this, the back and the front, sometimes we can have problems with the back layer poking through the front, which luckily we're not right now. But this is something I went over in part 1 of hanging on a bottom hangers. We can select that top layer, go into our property editor, and then find the layer section right here under simulation properties. Everything's automatically at 0, but if you want something to be on top of another layer, like so if also, for example, if you had a shirt underneath a jacket, you could do this layering technique with that too. If you were having simulation problems with them colliding, then you could just change the top layer to 1, and you can keep going up from there. If you had something on top of this, you could go to 2, 3, 4. But then when you simulate, that's just going to make sure that this top layer 1 is on top of layer 2. So I'm gonna change that back to 0 since we weren't having that problem, but that's a troubleshooting thing. If you are having problems with this technique, then you could do that. And then the last thing is, while we have simulation mode on, we can also still use those pin tools that I used in part 1 while the skirt's laying flat too. So I can always go into our pin box tool right here under the edit mesh tool by holding that down. It's loading very slow in high resolution mode right now. Let me turn that off for a second. And going to pin box. And you can see it's loading very slow because we are in high resolution mode, that our particle distance is really low. So that's why we're getting such good quality on our fabric and nice wrinkles. But you could always go in and use the pin tool to select a section and move it while you're in simulation mode. If you did want to try to arrange it. This, of course, while we're in high resolution mode, is going to be really slow. So I'm just going to delete those pins. So something that you could potentially do in low resolution mode, but while we have our garment laying flat on the ground, high resolution mode is going to give us the most detailed look. So once you're done styling this with a hand tool, doing all of your strengthening tools or anything like that, you can click Command A, select it. I'm going to jump to the center front by clicking 2 on my keyboard, and I'm just going to move it up in the air using the gizmo tool, and then rotate myself to the side so that I can rotate it exactly 90 degrees up. And then I'll use my gizmo tool to move it closer to our hanger. Just using my number shortcuts to jump where I need to go, and using my shift key to turn on my lock guides to get it right in the middle of our hanger clips. However I want it to be placed. And so you could have that be your final product, your final result. If you did want to turn on simulation mode again, our skirt would of course change. And this is going to give you a more flat look than our first technique using the pin tool, but it might give you a little bit more control of how you want your garment to lay flat, because while it's on the ground, you're going to be able to add some wrinkles to your fabric or make your fabric flatter and keep it like that, versus while it's hanging in the air, you have a little bit less control over that look of it. And so I'm going to just turn on simulation mode and show you what you could do if you did want to switch between techniques, or if you wanted to start with this to get your waistband in a certain like technique or looking like this, then we can always right click on it while the front and back are selected and choose freeze. And I'm definitely going to switch into low resolution mode before I do this, because otherwise it would be really slow. But if you have time for your garment to simulate, then you can stay in high resolution mode. But I'm going to turn on simulation mode now and let the garment fall a little bit. So in this technique also, even though we started on the ground with our garment and we didn't turn on simulation mode for a while, Once you have it here and your waistband frozen or whatever part is connected to the hanger frozen, you can always turn on simulation mode for just a second if you want to add a little bit of movement to the garment. You could click your space bar and then like 1 or 2 seconds later, click your space bar to turn simulation mode off. And that would give you a little bit of movement. Or if you want to make a lot of adjustments, you can of course use your hand tool and kind of add some wrinkles there too. But that's one way that you can get your garment to hang on a hanger. You'll see the result here. With this technique ended up being a lot flatter and smoother of fabric than our technique in part 1, which had more like draping. So it kind of just depends on what look you're going for. But that is how you can apply or hang a garment on a bottom hanger. Also here, if we were to go into our fabric library and apply a fabric to our garment, that's also going to give us a more realistic look too. So before I simulate, I'm just gonna make sure that that waistband is frozen, since that is the only thing holding us up in the air right now. So I'm gonna freeze that and turn on simulation mode. And that's also going to add a little bit of volume to our garment also. Like I said in the first video, there's another technique that you can use using tacks, which I don't like as much because I have more problems with it going into or colliding with our hanger clips. But I will show you that one really quick. Also, my preferred method is the first technique that we used. So I'm going to click on our waistband, unfreeze it. And while I already have it here in the position of the clips that I like, then I'm going to go to our tack tool. And I need to hold it down to get to tack on avatar, because right now the tack tool is only going to tack fabric to fabric, but I want to tack fabric to avatar, which our hanger is our avatar right now. So I'm going to zoom in really close and click the exact point on my garment that I want to attach to the hanger, and then click on my hanger where I want it to be attached to, and do that on the other side also. And then jump to the other hanger clip and click and attach those, and then rotating so that I can get it right underneath them. And then I'm also going to do it on the back too. Right underneath them, and then I'm going to do it on the back too. So I just clicked 8 on my keyboard to jump to my back view, and I'm just going to click those really quick. Not as precise as the front, but you could be more precise. And we'll turn on simulation mode and see how that looks. Like I said, I don't like this technique as much, because while it does give us like a natural looking drape right here, I find it really tricky to get it to be on the correct side of the hanger. Like it has just some collision things that make it look a little less realistic, but you could always try to push it in with the gizmo tool, turn on simulation mode. And use the hand tool. But if you are trying to use this method, you can also go to the edit tack tool, which is that tack right above the avatar tack. And if you click on that, you can edit your tacks by clicking and dragging their placement. And you can also delete one by clicking on it and clicking delete on your keyboard. So that is another method for hanging a garment on the bottom hanger. So that's 3 different techniques, one using the pin tool, one laying the garment flat on the ground and then moving it, and then the third using the tack tool. Let me know which method that you like best, but they all work a little bit differently. Thanks.